and welcome to Cedars Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Grace, and I am your worship associate today, alongside our minister, Reverend Zachary Vinson. Also, let's express our gratitude and lift up the names of others who have helped make this service happen. All the people who did setup, thank you. Tech team, thank you. Before we move further into our service, let's pause to acknowledge that members of our congregation occupy the ancestral, traditional, and contemporary lands of Coast Salish tribes. The homelands of the Suquamish, Duwamish, Qualam, and Chimacum people were ceded under duress through the Point Elliott and Point No Point treaties. We are grateful guests on these lands and affirm Indigenous sovereignty both past and present. This acknowledgement does not substitute for the need to build authentic relationships with modern-day members of these tribes and to learn about their living culture and history. Due to COVID precautions, we will not be passing the offering baskets among us. But as you know, our faith community is sustained by the generosity of our members and friends. Your contribution will help nourish the spiritual growth of our community through weekly worship and ongoing programs that cultivate connection, belonging, sharing, and caring. If you feel called to make a gift to Cedars, please do so by placing your offering in one of the offering boxes near the door after the service, which Jane Martin has generously provided us. You can also visit our website to make a contribution online. Your generosity is greatly appreciated. Cedars is committed to being a welcoming and inclusive community, and all the beauty of languages, cultures, and skin tones that come together in your uniqueness, we welcome you. In all the ways you experience and express gender, in the beauty of who and how you love, we welcome you. With all the religious and ethical traditions that inform your spiritual life, we welcome you. You are invited to join us today and always, with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands. Now, let us enter a time of centering as we listen to our prelude.
Lately I've been thinking about roots and wings. Lately I've been thinking how I need these things. I need roots in the ground to keep me strong. Wings on my back so I can fly on home. Lately I've been thinking about roots and wings. Lately I've been thinking how I need these things. Roots in the ground to keep me strong. Wings on my back so I can fly on home. Lately I've been thinking about roots and wings. Lately I've been thinking how I need these things. I need roots in the ground to keep me strong. Wings on my back so I can fly on home. Lately I've been thinking about roots and wings. Lately I've been thinking how I need these things. I need roots in the ground to keep me strong. Wings on my back so I can fly on home. Lately I've been thinking about roots and wings. Lately I've been thinking how I need these things. I need roots in the ground to keep me strong. Wings on my back so I can fly on home. Lately I've been thinking about roots and wings. Lately I've been thinking how I need these things. I need roots in the ground to keep me strong. Wings on my back so I can fly on home. I need roots in the ground to keep me strong. Wings on my back so I can fly on home. Wings on my back so I can fly on home. Wings on my back so I can fly on home.
Welcome, welcome one and all into this time of worship today. Our music, the song we just heard, was brought to us by Matt Meyer, who is a musician that those of us in Cedars know. Matt was gracious to share that recording with us to use today, and is hoping that when all of the quarantine and COVID and everything is over, eventually he'll be back to lead a service with all of us. So thank you, Matt. For our call to worship today, I want to share some words that come from an anonymous source. They're found in the back of our gray hymnal. And so listen, open yourselves, center yourselves in this time as I share these words. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to this community, and to each other. Come, let us worship together.
I have always loved giving gifts. It is such a great reward to see how I can impact others so positively, even in the simplest ways. Whether it be the gift of food, a card, or just some thoughtful and grateful words, gifts can make a big impact on both the receiver's and the giver's life. During the time when school was on Zoom, I would have about half an hour to make myself lunch. Even though this was usually a rather short time to both cook and eat a meal, I made a point of at least a few times a week bringing my father a lunch tray while he worked in his home office. My father rarely eats breakfast and usually has something equivalent to an apple or less for lunch, so I enjoyed surprising him with a thoughtful meal, oftentimes accompanied by a mug of peppermint tea. In another instance of a simple gift, this summer I took a backpacking trip with the Bainbridge Parks and Rec Department. The trip was 5 days long, and when I returned, my brother had made me a lovely welcome home card. It really warmed my heart. As I was writing this, he brought me a very kind cup of hot chocolate. The timing could not have been more appropriate, so I will do as he comically requested and give him an honorable mention. Another time in 8th grade, I asked my human relations teacher, "You always ask us how we are doing, but how are you doing?" It seemed a small thing to me, but I didn't realize how big of an impact it had until my teacher mentioned the incident in my evaluations. I was surprised that something so small could make a big enough of an impact to end up in my evaluation, which was usually just an overview of the student's progress. In all these instances, a simple thing, a meal, a card, hot chocolate, and a question, made a large impact on both the giver and the receiver. We can have such a positive effect on people with such little effort. Making others happy isn't just about grand gestures. It's about the small things, everyday acts of kindness that can turn someone's day around. Whether the giver realizes it or not, a simple gift is capable of warming someone's heart. As we enter the holiday season, a time full of gestures and gifts both big and small, let us hold dear the reasons why we give and receive gifts and the happiness that doing so brings to all of us. I dedicate the lighting of this flaming chalice to the joy of giving and receiving gifts. Please join me in reciting the Chalice Affirmation. As we come together to worship, we remind ourselves to treat all people kindly because we are one family, to take good care of the earth because it is our home, and to live lives full of love and goodness, because that is how we will all become the best that we can be.
So this time of year, there is a lot of talk about gift giving and presents and what to get people and Christmas lists and so on. And I'll be honest, I am notoriously hard to get gifts for this time of year. And part of it just has to do with, I feel like for the most part, I already have most of the things that I need, and I live in a small space, so I don't necessarily want to accumulate more and more things just because. In my family, this has sometimes caused a bit of tension. Just this past week, I received a series of texts from my mother-in-law, Julie, asking, "Where's your Christmas list?" So Ellie and I have been together for 11 years, and for 10 of those 11 years, I've participated in Christmas with the Smith family. And this tradition has gone on every year. "Where's your Christmas list, Zach?" And I always have to explain, I didn't make one. And at first I thought it was silly, like, why do I need more things? But the longer I have been in their family, the longer I realized that oftentimes the more I've realized that oftentimes these gifts aren't necessarily about me. They're not necessarily about me having more things or accumulating stuff, but rather about the other person being able to express their appreciation, their gratitude, their relationship to you. So it's taken some practice. But this year, when I was asked for my Christmas list, I thought of all those things that maybe aren't as fun, but that I really need. Like, I could really use a few extra screwdrivers around the house. I asked for a second hammer too, because I have one that I keep out in the garage, but I thought it'd be nice to have one in the closet, a smaller one, hanging pictures and stuff. I asked for socks, which was a gift that didn't go over so well when I asked for it a few years ago, and I was told it was boring. But I like socks. I like my feet to feel comfortable and warm and cozy, and when socks get worn out, I'm quick to pass them on. So this year, my practice has been to learn to see how these gifts are not just about me receiving items, but how it's an opportunity for me to connect to people in meaningful ways. How it's a chance for me to surround myself with things that remind me of the people and the relationships in my life. At the end of our service today, there is a table at the back of the room, and as you go, each of you will have a chance to take a gift. Whether you brought one or not, we've made sure there's enough for everyone today. So as you leave, when we finally end our service, I invite you to take something off the table. Maybe it's something you see that you want, or a surprise. And just let that item, whether you know who it's from or not, be something that connects you to this community. Let it be something that was freely given out of a spirit of generosity to you. And receive it, knowing that it is a way of deepening our relationship together. And now want to invite us into a moment of musical reflection as we listen to a recording of the song "Circle Round," performed by Sarah Jaban.
Circle round for the planets, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole, circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us in prison, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole.
That song holds a very special place in my heart. And it has to do with when I started attending a Unitarian Universalist congregation when I was in college in Bellingham. And the Bellingham Unitarian Fellowship had a tradition of ending each service by circling around the sanctuary and singing that song to each other, to the community gathered. And so hearing that this morning in this space as we are gathered moves my heart in a way that feels good. For a spiritual moment, I want to share a prayer by my colleague Judith Chalice titled, "How Shall We Pray?" Let us join our hearts and minds in the quiet meditation and prayer. How shall we pray? First, let us open to the silence. Let us hear the sounds in this room, the noises outside. Let us begin to hear the soft beating of our hearts. And let us listen intently for messages from within. Next, let us feel gratitude for our lives and for the beauty of the earth. As hard as life gets, as sad or as lonely as we sometimes feel, let us always be warmed by the gifts of life. Next, let us hold in our hearts all those known or unknown who are in need. May we find in ourselves the energy and knowledge to bring care to the world. And finally, let us be aware of the blessing that is not ours alone to do the work of the world. Love and community work wonders that we by ourselves could never imagine. In this time of silence, let us now form our own prayers out of the concerns of our hearts. Amen. Those, come on in into the room. Come on, we have plenty of room. Not to call you out there, but Welcome, welcome. So, there is a competition that I participate in every Christmas season with my ministerial colleagues. The objective of this competition is simple. So long as you don't hear the song, The Little Drummer Boy, you're a contender. As soon as you hear it on the radio, on TV, in a store, wherever, you're out. In other words, this competition is about avoiding the song, The Little Drummer Boy, at all costs. And for me, the game has prompted me to develop some ridiculous strategies. To give you an idea of some of the shenanigans that I have committed in pursuit of this game, I generally avoid listening to the radio during the weeks leading up to Christmas, just in case. I have gone through Spotify and Apple Music and blocked every single version of the song The Little Drummer Boy that I could find so it doesn't come up on my playlists. One time, when I was invited to a friend who was sympathetic towards my game, I negotiated to have my need to avoid this song worked into the playlist for their party. And they complied. When I arrived here at Cedars in 2019, I remember as I was preparing for the Christmas Eve services and Chris and I sat together, I told her that every Christmas song was fair game except The Little Drummer Boy. Most people don't get it, but I take this game very seriously. I started playing it in about 2015 when I was an intern minister, and I have so far managed to navigate each holiday season without hearing this song once. I can't say that's the case this year, however. The whole competition had escaped my mind when I was recently invited to a small social gathering. Last year, it seemed really easy to avoid this song and, frankly, pretty much all other Christmas songs due to the fact that I was home more than not, and I don't generally listen to a whole lot of Christmas music. This year, it just felt so good to finally be invited somewhere, to be doing something that felt like normal, that the competition just escaped my mind. And lo and behold, as the night wore on, the song eventually came on. I laughed a bit when it did, and I explained to those present the game that I was playing and what it was all about. And for the first time since I started playing this game in 2015, I found myself questioning what was behind the whole avoidance of this particular song in the first place. Beyond the simple humor of the game, which I do find it kind of a little bit funny, I think it has something to do with the whole idea of playing a drum being an appropriate present for a sleeping newborn. Who thinks that's a good idea? I'm sure Mary and Joseph loved the one-person drum parade taking place outside the manger while the infant Jesus slept. I imagine there was already enough noise with all of the animals and angels and wise men. Why add a drum? In my experience, speaking as an uncle and as someone with friends with infants, I have learned it is never appreciated to wake someone's newborn child. What makes the Holy Family any different? Anyway, since I'm no longer a contender for this game this year, I figured, why not listen to the song a few more times and see what I've been missing out these last several years? What I found is that while I'm still, to be honest, not really a fan of the song The Little Drummer Boy, musically I find it a bit obnoxious with the whole pa-rum-pum-pum-pum But that aside, I can now appreciate how this is a song less about a kid being woken up by his neighbor playing a drum, as I assumed, and rather a story about a young boy so moved by what is happening, so moved by the birth of a child, that he feels the need to share a gift of some kind. He says in the song, "I have no gift to bring that's fit to give our King. Shall I play for you?" I imagine the young boy comparing what he had to offer to the gold, myrrh, and frankincense of the wise men. How great was the insecurity he must have felt that bubbled up in him following such grand gifts with a simple song. And yet, as the song continues, the lyrics tell us that Mary nods when he asks if he can play for them. She assents for the drummer boy to play. Mary does not see this boy as an intrusion, but rather understands that he is just swept up in what is happening, like everyone else, like the angels and animals. That's why the drummer boy plays his drum. To me, this feels like a true gift given from a place of simple sincerity. Something spontaneous that welled up into him such that he felt he needed to offer it to others. In the book titled Sacred Economics, Money, Gift, and Society in an Age of Transition, Charles Eisenstein writes, "One of the most important gifts you can give is to fully receive the gift of another." We have many ways of rejecting or partially receiving a gift. Anything we do to lessen the obligation implied by receiving is a form of rejection. Anything we do to lessen the obligation implied by receiving is a form of rejection. For example, reminding the giver of what you gave them last year, implying that you deserve or are entitled to the gift. Pretending that whatever you receive, you didn't really want it that much. Or offering or insisting on paying for something. In Eisenstein's view, all of these things constitute a rejection of a gift. If we think about what the little drummer boy offered through this lens, perhaps we can see how what he did, what he offered, could be defined as a gift both in the giving and receiving. Both in the playing of the song by the little drummer boy and the listening of the song by those gathered. It's this giving and receiving, the acceptance, that makes it a gift. Did Mary necessarily want this kid playing his drum all night long outside? I really doubt it. But I think she must have recognized how authentically he was giving the only thing he had, and in recognizing, chose to accept it graciously. So when I think of this situation, this example, I'm reminded of times in my own life when one of my nieces or nephews or other young people comes to me offering me a gift of some type. It's often a drawing or one of their toys or some other thing that they have found around the house or in the yard. In most cases, I will admit that the things that are offered are not things that I necessarily want. You can only have so many drawings from your nieces and nephews, and frankly, I have enough rocks at this point. Sometimes I try to engage in a bit of negotiation, imploring them to keep it, you'll want it later. Or perhaps I'll try to pass it on to someone else saying something like, I really think this might make a better gift for your mom or grandma. The thing that I've noticed, though, is how the faces of these young people light up when I do accept their gift. Even if I have no intention of keeping it in the long term, maybe I'm rotating that picture out for the last one on the fridge, even if I have no intention of keeping it, I can still witness how exciting it is for young people, for anyone, to have the thing that they have to offer accepted, to have the gift that you excitingly bring into a relationship, into a community, to have it accepted. Upon further reflection, I think this is really what the song The Little Drummer Boy is about. It's about someone offering the only thing they have and having that gift accepted. It's expected that we will accept the big gifts, the expensive and fancy gifts, the gold, myrrh, and frankincense. I think those are given that we will accept them. But the simple gifts, the small ones that we don't expect, I believe that these are the gifts that oftentimes have the biggest impact in our lives. The small gestures that connect us together. We each have different ways of giving and receiving gifts. And yet still, I believe that the core of what it means to give a gift is a deepening of our relationship. Gifts arise when our spirit is moved in gratitude or appreciation. Gifts incur no debt. They incur no debt on the part of the giver or the receiver. What makes gifting different than other financial transactions is that it invites us into a space of generosity rather than a space of scarcity. Gifts are about expressing connection in a way that draws us closer together without the expectation of a one-to-one exchange. The difference between gift giving and a financial transaction has to do with expectations. In financial transactions, we think about cost and returns. Is the time put in going to pay off? Is it going to be worth it? Do I have enough money in my budget to cover all the costs? Am I being overcharged, or am I just being ripped off by someone? In financial settings, these are all real and practical concerns. But when we engage in gift giving, we're given a chance to interact with each other in real and oftentimes tangible ways without having the weight of these concerns compressing in. There's another song. It's not a Christmas song, or at least I don't think people see it as a Christmas song. I might argue differently. It's a Shaker hymn that has made its way into the hymnary of many churches, our own hymnal included. The title of the song is "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple." And the lyrics are as follows. "'Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in a place just right, 'twill be in a valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed to turn. 'Twill be our delight till by turning we come round right." I love that song. For me, this song, though, it captures the simplicity with which our gifts are meant to be given and received. In a way that it captures the way in which we enter into a free exchange of what we have and a free acceptance of what is given. And that's the sort of reciprocity that the song says, that this sort of reciprocity, this simple giving and receiving, will lead us to a place of love and delight. That giving and receiving freely will lead us to a place of love and delight. In my own life, it is the simple gifts that have been the most profound. I mentioned that I am a notoriously hard gift receiver. And I think it's sometimes the expectation that comes with events where gifts are expected, birthdays, Christmas. But it's the simple gifts that have really moved me. The unexpected times when someone brings me fresh cut flowers from their garden. The homemade jam or bread that someone stops by my house and offers. Or the thoughtful card I receive that stirs me. Not in a way that makes me feel indebted to the other person, but stirred in a way that highlights our connection to others. I think it's this same spirit. I think it is that same spirit of bringing our gifts, our time, our talent, our treasure together in this way that makes community work. Thinking just of this morning, all the people who were scurrying around this room, setting up chairs, making the technology work, preparing for all of the things that were happening. The way we bring our gifts together is what makes community work. And I know that much about the last almost 2 years has been less than ideal. And at times there has maybe been moments where it feels like we are bringing gifts that no one is ready or willing to receive. Or that we are ready and willing to receive gifts, but nobody is there to give. This can be hard. And it's not just any one of us, it's all of us together that we probably have felt this at some point. We're all human. And our institutions do reflect our humanity. But with that said, I hope that we can take this message to pause this morning and to think about the coming year. To commit ourselves in the coming year to a spirit of generosity, to a spirit of bringing our gifts, whatever they may be, into this space to make meaning. May this coming year be one in which we can express our gratitude towards one another, to give and receive in simple yet powerful ways together, to the glory of life.
but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Again. Thank you, Grace. Our service this day has ended, but our service to the world and one another begins anew. May we go forth with our heart and spirit open to give and receive all the gifts that life has to offer. May it be so.